you from
um, minutes read, or is there a vote to approve them as they are written?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as they are written.
An update to was an extreme thing. This month for every single committee in this part, including the board. We started a facilities committee, which was chaired by Coach Bob. But all the owners are volunteers. Grateful to them. Data leaders in that Cassidy, our college. The board liaison is Dwayne True. They have hit the ground running. We have meetings regarding the zoning, community development, transportation. Cassidy is held in a great discussion with the family regarding
Madam President. Madam President.
We have a full presented by our agents.
Madam President, the audio is going in and out.
We have one renewal is 28.
Madam President, can't hear you online. We're having issues with audio. So Mike, the mics are on. It's saying it's in her mic. Try it again. Can you hear her now?
No,
Nothing.
can hear you fine. Can't hear her.
Everyone else is fine, but they can't hear.
Can't hear Gary either.
Can't hear Gary.
So for everyone that's online right now, please understand that the audio system itself is messed up. It's not the Zoom. It's not the operators doing the Zoom. We have bids coming in for a new audio system so we can fix this problem. So please be patient with us. We've been working on this for 2 months. The audio visual crew has another vendor coming in this week for a second bid so we can get prices on fixing a system. I apologize for this, but there's really nothing we can do until we fix the sound system. So it's not the Zoom meeting people. It's not the people setting up the Zoom meeting. We went from YouTube to Zoom to try and resolve this issue. And then we discovered that it was actually the audio system that's the problem. So just be patient with us.
Greg, it's Greg Ludwig. And my audio is very garbled as well. So I have texted Deb Davis, and she is going to present the financial committee report for me.
Because Greg, your audio is perfect. It's the audio coming from the other end that's messed up.
Yes. I understand, and I cannot
Okay.
hear anything going on. So Deb is present there. She can make the presentation. It's not a problem.
Greg, can
Okay,
you
brother.
hear the board at all?
Nope, not at all. But whoever's talking, I can hear. Is that Terry?
Yes, that's me.
What are you talking from?
I'm talking from my computer.
Yeah, the input is probably screwed up. If I can hear you from your computer, then the input's screwed up going into the computer. You may try changing the input from your microphone on the computer to the input from the USB. Any luck with that, Terry?
Sorry,
Have you had any luck with changing the audio input
they're
for the Zoom
working
meeting?
on it right now, Greg.
Okay.
It's out there, hear me?
Go ahead, Judy.
On Zoom, Terry, he says that they can hear us on
Judy.
Zoom.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. All right, I'll continue on with the insurance report. We have Inland Marine, which is the equipment. We have the golf carts and the Kubota. The premium last year was $577.50. It renewed at $595.35. General liability was $18,665.85, and it renewed at $19,604.55. Our fidelity bond was $732.09. It renewed at $755.82. Directors and officers coverage was $10,488.45. It reduced to $5,154.06. The reason for that is all of the previous lawsuits have now dropped off and they're gone. Workers' compensation is for the volunteers who work in the park, $599. It reduced to $565. And the excess liability, our umbrella, was $64,6590. It renewed at $11,388.30 for a total of $66,624.98. And we only budgeted $58,500. So we're going to be over on that this year. On the social committee, Lori Sheehan has joined the committee, and Scott Sutliff will be the new treasurer, taking over for Bill Ross. And I also want to make notice that Bill and Rick and Karen Reeves, sorry about that. They're not going to be on the social committee, but they are going to continue with the food trucks. So we thank them for that. Diane Leffler has decided to retire, and we thank her for all the support she has given to Cypress Woods, and we wish her well in her future endeavors. I'd like a motion to approve the insurance renewal and the report.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Can we give a hand for Diane?
Yes, a hand for Diane. I don't know if she's here, but. We appreciate it. Greg Ludwig is going to do the financial report.
Good morning,
John?
board. Can you hear me? Good morning, Madam President. Can you hear me?
You can. I don't know where they are.
Good morning to the board. Can you hear me?
No, but everybody else can, Greg.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Greg. Greg, go ahead.
I'm trying. Can you hear me?
Deb, do you want to do it? We'll have the report read by Deb Davis. Sorry.
I cannot be heard.
Good morning, everybody. I want to start off by saying the Finance Committee, which consists of Greg Ludwig, Jack Cassidy, and myself, I am so honored to work with such a quality group here. These gentlemen have great knowledge, and I guess I have the history, so it's really been a joy working with them. This was drafted by our chairman, Greg Ludwig. As of February 28th, 2023, we have operating cash of $740,000. In our operating checking account, which is at City National Bank, we have $680,700. That is the account where your quarterly dues are deposited, and then all of the bills are paid from that particular account at Citibank. Then in our reserve account, which is also at Citibank, it has a balance of $296,500. And that is a required account that we have by Florida statute for both road reserves as well as other reserves. The social committee has, their banks are at Wells Fargo, and their combined totals are $18,500 right now. Also, in the Bank of the Ozarks, we, the HOA, have a balance of $41,500. Now, that's our miscellaneous account, such as any laundry revenue, swipe cards, barcodes, etc. Any type of miscellaneous revenue goes into that particular account. So what we, the Finance Committee, has done through the support and assistance of First Services, we've established what we call ICS, our Insured Cash Sweep accounts, for both our operating account and our reserve account. So what this really does, we're going to be setting thresholds of maximum balances that we want kept in those accounts, and any other determined amount would be automatically swept and put into a yield account, so we can finally start getting some interest earned on these large amounts of money we have. So both the operating checking account and the reserve fund account, which is at Citibank, we recommend that the board will initially sweep $200,000 from both operating and from our reserve account and sweep those into the protected ICS accounts respectively. The ICS accounts are fully covered by the FDIC for amounts to exceed $100 million. The ICS operation account allows money to flow in both directions. So it's going to earn us 3.4% annual percentage yield. Now, the Finance Committee will monitor these accounts to ensure workability and effectiveness. Once determined, the Finance Committee will recommend additional amounts to sweep and determine minimum amounts or thresholds to be retained both in the operating account so we can pay our bills, which is also insured up to $250,000. So at this time, both the ICS sweep accounts operating in reserve will yield 3.4% in their what we're going to call the core balance, or the balance that we want to maintain to basically operate with. This will have a significant impact on our balance sheet and will offer full protection of our cash position. Now, regarding the Bank of the Ozarks, where we have that miscellaneous type income going in that has a balance right now of $41,500. We would also like to recommend to the board that we take $40,000 of that and put it into a 13-month CD, which will yield us a 5% annual percentage yield. So on Thursday, March 23rd, at the request of the Finance Committee, our HOA president, treasurer, and secretary opened a checking and sweep account at Fifth Third Bank. This account will be solely used to monitor deposits and expenses of our SBA account, which we secured because of the Ian hurricane damage we've endured. So all expense payment activity related to any hurricane damages will be written from this particular account. This account ensures that no HOA funds will be commingled with any SBA monies. The Fifth Third Bank sweep account will yield 3% APY for us. Let's talk for just a second on our quarterly owner assessments. We do get delinquency reports that denote 30, 60, 90, and over 90-day balances that are not only past due, but are also accruing interest and late fees. There is a delinquent balance total of $19,890 in past due payments that include, again, late fees and interest. Now, of that amount, there are 21 owners that by accident, I'm sure, short paid their January 2023 dues. If you recall, the old dues that we paid in the fourth quarter of last year were $791. The new dues are quarterly $857. The difference being roughly $65. There were 21 owners right now that short paid that actually it's $65.33. So what we're asking is that when you make your April payment, which was due April 1, that you include that short pay of $65.33. Now, the board has agreed that they would waive on the $65.33 delinquency only the late fees and interest, but they must be paid very quickly, that amount, right, Jude?
We had originally said March 31st.
Right. So if their checks don't get there till first or second week of April, would you still considering just that portion, or is that?
I think the board would have to look at that.
Okay, excellent. Okay,
Because we have sent out 2 notices.
right,
So it's not like we haven't notified anybody.
right. And of that 19,800 that's past due, I might note that 8,000 of that is one account, which was foreclosed on, and it's our house in A18. So if you subtract that out, we're in pretty good shape on delinquencies. The Finance Committee recommends that First Service be directed to have Click and Pay for those quarterly dues adjusted with all CW auto pay accounts to the current assessment fee of $857, and for Click and Pay to automatically adjust future assessment amounts to the $857. And this,
Can I comment on
please,
that?
please.
So the reason that there was a delay in uploading the correct HOA fee is because our previous manager sent in an incorrect budget. I don't know where it came from, but she reversed the numbers and First Service couldn't make it balance. So that's why it did not get uploaded correctly and in time. So we will do better this year.
Thanks, Jude. Now, regarding our current 2023 budget, the Finance Committee would also like to recommend to the board to do an increase in what we call the transfer fees. Transfer fees are meaning if you have sold your lot and is conveying to a new owner, that the fee would increase from $750 to $1,000. And that would be effective May 1st, as an administrative cost have increased. So on March 27th, Cypress Woods did close on the SBA loan. An initial draw of $25,000 has been made. And as additional documents are provided to the SBA, more sizable loan amounts will be drawn. Now, this improves our finance position and will enable Cypress Woods to repair and restore our property. SBA has placed a lien on the town center as collateral, and it is the only structure that we have a lien on related to the SBA. As a result of the SBA loan, the Cypress Woods financials will need to be restated, as expenses that are associated with Hurricane Ian will need to be recoded from just general repairs and maintenance to a separate category for expenses associated solely with the SBA. The SBA will and can audit the loan that they give us, both of deposits and expenses with appropriate invoicing. So that's why we set up a separate checking account just for the SBA transactions. And we will continue to work with our manager in First Service to accomplish all the required GL codes that solely identify SBA revenue and SBA expenses. This is a little bit of a repeat, but on March 23rd, Cypress Woods signed a new insurance policy for coverage effective April 1 for 1 year. Has been widely reported, insurance companies throughout Florida are exiting the state market in droves. With our new policy, our broker, as Judy said, McGriff Insurance Services, was able to minimize our cost increases while maintaining our coverage. As a result, our premiums have increased approximately. Overall, I think we have 8 policies. Am I correct on that, Jude? I think it's 8 or 9 policies, 7 or 8. Total of all those policies added together, we have an increase of $11,000 in our annual premiums, which of course we did not budget for. We were unaware of it. So that's something that's on our radar. The Finance Committee believes in developing relationships with trust, advocacy, partnership, and the efforts of McGriff exemplify that relationship. So in closing, the Finance Committee wants all Cypress Woods owners to know that your resources are now protected, and through strategic planning and investment, we're committed to the restoration and improvement of our Cypress Woods Resort. And this is respectfully submitted by our chairman, Greg Ludwig.
Thank you. Any questions for Deb on this? Motion to accept?
So moved.
Second. You be second, Gary. Second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you, Deb.
Madam President,
You guys did a great job.
Madam President.
Yeah.
There are 3 requests inside of that report that we need to vote on.
Right, we need to vote on the increase of the capital expenditure.
No, ma'am. The first thing that we need to vote on is the handling of funds inside the checking account. The sweep to go into the money market was the first thing they brought up, I believe.
What was the third one?
The second one was well, I want to discuss the coding. And there was one other one. Greg, can you remind me what it was?
Um, to increase the transfer fee from 750
Transfer
to
fees, yes,
1,000.
thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to
Right.
write that down, the transfer fee. So I make a motion that we allow the finance committee to set up the sweep account. And that sweep to be managed by the president.
The second motion
Hold on,
should be
wait,
to,
Greg, wait. We
okay,
got to take one at a time. I'm
Sure.
sorry. Madam President, did you get my motion?
Neither can we.
So you can't hear me?
Or is he making a motion for the
Yes.
sweep?
Yes. And
Yes.
Greg, could you repeat the motion?
I'd like to move that we
I can't hear that.
go
Can't hear.
ahead and start
Well, if
Sweeping
Terry
the
can just
account.
repeat His motion.
Yeah,
then
Terry,
we
can you
vote on
repeat it?
each one.
I was
Okay,
hearing.
I'm making a motion that we set up a sweep account, that we set up to sweep the account to be put into a money market account. And that sweep to be controlled by the president.
he made a motion
Yeah.
for the sweep accounts. It's controlled by the president. Do I have a second? Yeah, moving to money markets.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
What's the next one?
A motion for
Great,
to
great.
increase the transfer fees.
Okay.
Greg,
I-
also, it's the Bank of the Ozark taking out a 13-month CD.
Oh, I'm sorry. Madam President, there's a second motion to create a 13-month CD. How much was it, Greg?
40,000 at Bank of the Ozarks.
$40,000.
Greg made a motion for the sweep account, the Bank of the Ozark account, to move that into a 13-month CD at 5%. There's a second to that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So,
Okay.
Madam President, before we vote on the increase in the transfer fee, I'd like to understand why we need to increase that fee.
I think, did he say he made a motion? Oh. Deb, do you want to answer that? It was proposed by the finance committee, so.
When we did surveys of other communities, most of them are charging anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 right now. We've been under the market rate on that for quite a while. So it was just an adjustment.
And our administrative costs have gone up.
I don't have that, I'll be honest with you.
Greg
Okay,
Ludwig,
Yes, I know you
Did you hear
cannot
the
hear.
question?
I heard the question. Our administrative costs have gone up with the processing of all of these transfers.
the
Yeah,
transfer
we are-
fees, as you know, are paid by the buyer of your
Correct.
property.
Yep.
It's not the seller. Not unless they agree, yeah.
I don't have an issue with it. I just wanted to understand why.
Yes, administrative costs and market competitiveness.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the increase in transfer fee cost to, what is it, $1,000?
I can't
Yes.
hear him.
Yes, $1,000.
They increase the transfer cost.
Oh, he did. All right, Greg has made a motion to increase the transfer fees from 750 to 1,000. Do I have a second?
We need some discussion to be continued at the next meeting, because this is the first I've heard it. Yeah, me too.
All right, we're going to table that till the next meeting. Thank you.
Postpone, Madam President? Are we gonna postpone it or are we gonna table it?
Postponing it. Yes, we're postponing it.
Thank you.
750 to 1,000.
Greg, was there one other thing?
That, I believe that's it.
Madam President,
Well, you
It-
can't make a motion, but
No.
if we want to have discussion, let's open it up right now.
Okay, let's open it up for discussion. If you want to do that, we can certainly entertain discussion.
Come to the mic.
Come to the mic.
Come to the mic.
There's no vote,
There's no vote. It's a board decision.
but
If you have questions, please come to the mic, please, out of courtesy.
Jack Cassidy.
Yeah, I'm appealing to the board to go ahead and pass this transfer fee. Every community HOA has a transfer fee. They usually call it a capital contribution fee. And the buyer pays the fee. We are one of the lowest, if not the lowest in the whole Fort Myers or Florida, state of Florida. I'm in another association. We just raised the fee from $1,200 to $2,200. Another club just raised theirs from $2,500 to $4,000. It helps the roads, it helps the income for the community. It can be used for capital assets, improvements and things like that. And we need to increase it. It's just, the buyer pays it, it's a one-time fee. And every time a transfer happens, it helps the coffers. So it's not like we're taking it out of your pockets. We're improving the community with the money. And I'm going to ask the board to go ahead and pass this today. It's critical that we get it passed. We need money in the fund, capital operating fund, and I'm just,
Okay, we have a motion made by Greg. Do I have a second from a board member?
we already have a second. You just decided
I'll
to
second.
postpone it.
All in favor?
Whoa, Madam President,
Aye.
no.
I vote no right now.
Okay, so we have three votes for, 2 against. It passes.
I think you'll see some major improvements with the money we receive from the sales of lots here. And I think the people that probably are against it are the ones that are for sale. And that's effective. I think you need an effective date on the,
Deb had said
May 1st.
Deb had said May 1st, but I don't know that First Service can implement that in just the 3 weeks.
yeah.
So let's make it June 1st.
Well, they can implement it. It's a matter of the estoppel department, just putting it in there, plugging a number in.
I understand, but I think we should do June 1st,
All right.
just to be
Madam
safe.
President, Madam President. Madam President.
Can Terry hear you, Greg?
I don't know if they can or not.
Hmm.
Madam President,
I can't hear it. Huh? Well, let's move on. Terry, you give your management report.
Good morning. Just wanted to let everyone know that we're in the process of hiring a new admin. The background check is being completed and once she has signed her agreement, we will have her onboarding. So I hope to have that in place by next week, late next week. Commercial pool and spas, as you know, the spas were closed due to some repair issues. Our new contractor is in place now. He started April 1st. And so we shouldn't have the same issues that we were having with the old pool company. The repairs are completed on pool spas, so those are open for use. Knoll is in the process of clearing debris throughout the community. I was informed by someone this morning that they still have some dead branches. So if you are seeing anything that has been missed, please let us know. You're welcome to email me or call the office and we'll make sure that the contractor is aware that these have been missed. Let's see. And just to bring everyone up to speed on what happened in section D, we had a low water pressure issue. The hydrants were open to let the air out of the pressurized line, which caused milkiness in a couple of the lots. So that has been rectified, and we think that everything's good. So right now, I would just like to make a motion or ask for a motion to be made for approval of my report.
Second.
Motion,
I move
So
we
moved.
accept the report.
second,
Thank you.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Terry, do you want to introduce the gentleman next to you?
My regional director, Kimberly Kresge, has just retired, and I would like to introduce my new regional director. His name is James. He will be checking in with me to make sure everything's going good. Do you want to come up and say hi?
Thank you for the introduction. Yes, my name is James Tanagawa. I'm a regional director with First Service Residential. By way of background, I've been in the community association management business exclusively in Southwest Florida for the past 16 years. I am very, very excited to work with your manager, your board, and of course, all of you residents towards our common goals. You see a guy driving around in a black truck. It's not me being a seedy character. I'm just out looking around. As I was saying, if you see me out and about in a black truck, driving slowly, looking around, I'm not trying to be a seedy character. I'm just keeping eyes on the place, like everybody would expect us to. Again, look forward to working with the board, your management team, and the community. And thank you.
Thank you, James.
James.
Welcome to Cypress Woods.
James,
Bill Ross,
Madam President.
are you gonna give a report? Is this your last report, Bill? Oh, you're retiring, huh? All
Madam
right.
President. Anybody? Terry, can you hear me? Wow.
Greg, we can hear you on Zoom.
Yeah, I know. It's the sound system. It won't take inputs and
I can
outputs
hear
at the
you.
same time.
Greg, can you just put something in the chat, maybe?
Yeah, I need to ask this guy a question.
Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead and give your report.
These figures are as of March 31st. It includes all checks written that have been, they are deducted from this amount. Cash checking, 9,488.78. Savings, 5,406. Petty cash, 195.05. Prepaid expenses for entertainment next year, 175. We had revenue for the month of March of 5,869.71. Expenses, 9,784.31. Excuse me, smaller print here. For the social committee's year, April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2023, we had revenue of 23,202.91. We had total expenses of 20,396.06 for a net gain of 2,806.85.
Thank you. Any questions for Bill? Motion to accept his report.
Motion second.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And Bill, I want to thank you for all your service. We really appreciate it.
Who's taking his place? Do they have a-
Scott Sutliff, Scott Sutliff is going to be the new treasurer for the social committee. And we thank him. He's not here today, but we thank him. Dwayne, Southwest Florida Water Management, and give us an update on Laguna Carib.
Okay. South Florida Water Management, we submitted what we hope is our final submittal to the agency last month. And at this point, we're waiting for a response back then. We anticipate receiving that response sometime in the next couple of weeks. The response will either be, they'll write the permit as we submitted, or they may have some additional comments they want to make. We don't know, but as soon as we have that information, we'll get that out to everybody. Lagoon Creek, we finally, as of Monday this week, achieved our Lee County certification of completion for construction of phases 1 and 2. So that's all the civil construction, roads, utilities, required, landscaping and so forth for essentially all the lots, all 137 lots. The third phase of the project, which we don't have CC for yet, is the amenity parcel. And of course, as you can see, if you've been walking around out there, we've got a lot of work going on right now in the clubhouse, the pool, our rather funky looking bridge out there. I don't know if you've seen that. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, that's all going well. So basically, what does it mean with CC? It means with CC, we were able to submit our final plat to the county. We had just one comment to respond to from July, was the last review we had from the county, and that's been taken care of. So we anticipate very shortly, perhaps in a matter of a week or so, we should have approval and recording of a plat. And as the moment that becomes recorded, then we're legal to sell lots.
And Dwayne already had his first camper out there in East Section. I don't know if anybody noticed it. I think it was last Sunday. This guy was there and he was all set up and he had his awnings out and he was measuring for the casita. His wife is totally disabled and he wanted to be sure that she could maneuver around the lot. So that was kind of nice. Any questions on Dwayne's report?
Well, actually, let me bring up one other matter because it just came up in the last couple of days. It came up in our facilities committee meeting Monday, and there was an email that the board members got yesterday. Some folks that live adjacent to where the two entries are have experienced, obnoxious odors, is the way they put it. And it comes from irrigating the landscaping at the two entries. Some of this we can do something about, some of this we can't quite yet do anything about. The part we can do is I've asked the contractor to adjust all the watering circuits so that they all occur during the night. I think they started out watering during the day because, testing out the new systems, and of course, with new landscaping, you have to water the heck out of it in the beginning, and then you tail off. So hopefully they'll be getting that so that it'll only be during like the late night and early morning hours, and hopefully most people won't notice anything. As far as what the issue is, I don't have any data yet, but it's probably what they call hydrogen sulfide, which is a common component in groundwater throughout South Florida. And it's in very small trace amounts typically. And it's not easy to remove, particularly on a large scale irrigation system. Typically, a lot of the homes that are on well and septic in South Florida will have their own individual hydrogen sulfide treatment system. It involves typically a tank, and for something like ours where it's 120 gallons a minute versus say 10 gallons a minute, it'd take a pretty big tank. So we're going to research that and see if we can figure out if there's something we can do about it. But in the meantime, at least it shouldn't be during the day.
Any questions for Dwayne?
Make a motion, we accept the report.
Wait a minute. Come up to the microphone, please.
My name is Charles Weber. I live on lot D58. Problem is that there's no stop signs, but there's two streets that go into the new development. And there definitely is going to be an accident there. Because trucks come out of there, they don't stop. They keep going. I think you got to get two stop signs put up there.
There is one.
Is there one?
Yeah, there is one on the lower entrance. But there is not one on the second. I ride my bike through there every day and I wondered the same thing, why they hadn't put one on the second
Well,
entrance.
it needs one.
Yeah,
Well, the stop signs were what we're required to do by Lee County. I guess the reason that they didn't require one on the north entry is because it's our backup entry as opposed to our main entry, which is on the south. But there's nothing that prevents us from putting up another stop sign there. I mean, we're not forbidden from that, so we can decide to do that. That's not a problem.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. You made a motion to accept, yeah. A second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Schwab. Mr. Schwab is the new chair of the Facilities Committee, and it is new. And they have been busy,
New and improved.
new and improved, yes.
Good morning. Bill Schwab, B52. 4 weeks ago, we were asked to restart the Facilities Committee. And we organized and had a meeting. And there was been 4 meetings. We just had our last meeting, not our last meeting, to get organized. There's 7 members and our board liaison. So we've got a strong team together. And we started off running real fast.
Speak into the mic, Bill.
We started running real fast because we didn't have time to organize everything. We have a nice list of organization. We have a new charter that just came out at midnight last night that haven't had a chance to read it yet. But we were given a lot of projects that are underway that need to be completed, a lot of them because of Ian. So just a brief description of some of what we're doing. Or what the Facilities Committee is the buildings, the facilities, and the site work around the entire place, the common areas. Our first project is, of course, it's security, but it's fencing. We have a wall that is on Luckett Road, we call the wall, which is a concrete wall that we're proposing. Then we have a fence along the B section on the west side. And trying to reconstitute the maintenance area for storage, not to work at. So with that, we had to go down to zoning. So Barb and Deb and Jack and I went down to zoning and met with 5 people. Had a very good meeting, a 1-hour meeting actually with them. And learned a lot of information, and we got blindsided from zoning in that fact that they said there was never a permit or zoning for the fence originally. So due to previous developer, so that kind of threw a wrench. We listened very carefully at that meeting and to what they said and some of the items you can kind of go. Because first they said, move the fence back 40 feet to the buffer. There's a 40-foot buffer entirely around the entire facility here. And they're really worried about the one on Luckett Road, not too worried about the others because they're back up against other things. So they gave us ideas. We came back, made a few sketches, and then Jack and I sat down with them over the internet and had another chat with 2 of them and came up with some good resolutions that we think will work well. But now we need to hire RVI to a planning facility group to work with us to prepare plans for the thing. And RVI has worked with Laguna Caribe So she's very familiar with our site here. So when we do have a proposal that we'll bring up at the new business for passage. We're also working on the monument or the entrance sign. We'll be working with the South Florida Water Management District once implementation comes into working with that. We work with the Finance Committee, the Storage Committee, and they'll be part of the zoning requirements. And then Casita is part of the zoning with RVI. So we're kind of lumping everything into there together. Essentially what we're doing, we're problem solvers, kind of thrown into it because of this, but it all worked out to our favor. We hope. But it is causing a delay. So what we are doing is next Thursday at 10 o'clock, there's going to be a board of directors workshop here, and it's going to be on security. And security to us, of course, is the fence, what to do about it because of the delay. If we're going to look at temporary fencing, get rid of the ugly red fence, what are the options we can do? What type of fence do we want along the other lines? So it's open for everybody to come and voice opinion. We'll also be talking about the cameras. Scott will be talking about those and lighting, all the security issues that we want to bring up. So that's next Thursday. And
What
then
time, Bill? What time?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock here in the town center?
Here in the town center. We set up just like this. It's a board of directors.
Thank you.
And they'll be issuing the handout right after the meeting. And then after we have the RVI, we'll have to hire an engineering firm to do a few minor things to do the what is it? The development order modification, and then an ERP modification for the Southwest Florida. So we're working together for all of that. And the good thing is on our committee is that out of the 8 of us, at least 4 of us will be here all summer. So we won't drop the ball on everybody. That's my report. Motion to accept the report.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Bill.
If I could make an additional comment here. First of all, I want to thank Bill and all the members of the committee. They're doing a great job. These are some real hard workers. And they are very dedicated to, like Bill said, being problem solvers. We've got quite a few things that have been sort of percolating through Cypress Woods that all will involve some degree of government permission or approval or permitting or whatever the case may be. And when we started looking at what we were dealing with in facilities, we understood pretty quickly it wasn't just facilities. It was affecting other committees that are already hard at work. Casitas is one, storage committee is another. And also the finance committee, they get involved because this involves, contracting and coming up with ways to pay for stuff that, might get billed as a result. So we did request a proposal from RVI Planning. If any of you were here during some of the prior town hall meetings that we had for Laguna Creek a couple of years ago, Alexis Crespo was the one who conducted those. She would be the lead on this. We feel pretty strongly that by combining all these changes into one single package, it'll happen a lot quicker and be a lot cheaper than doing these as individual permit applications. And Alexis is pretty confident that we can get them all into one package. And furthermore, she's pretty confident that we can avoid having to go through a public hearing process, which is much longer. So as a result of this process, once we have somebody in place to prepare these applications and get them submitted, we're probably looking at a minimum of 6 months to get approval to build a wall replacement on Lookett Road and then other places as well.
And Bill had mentioned, possibility of looking at temporary fencing. Well, that's the reason. It could be as long as 9 to 12 months. That's a long time to go without having security being properly managed and, just the ugly aesthetics of that ripped up wall. So we're looking at some options there. We'll be able to come up with some prices and contractors and so forth. But more than anything on this workshop, we've got on the 13th, we want to collect input because we don't have any answers yet. I mean, we're collecting input from people so we understand what people want us to focus on in terms of anything security related. And that's everything from the gates, the gate readers, neighborhood watch, all that stuff is associated with security. So we're looking for a very broad input. And our goal is at the end of the process, we end up with a community that is a lot more secure than it is today.
The Casita Committee, Lisa? Good morning.
Good morning, Lisa Crane, Lot B26. So the Casita Committee had gotten our results back on the survey that went out. The results were very, very close between the two sizes. So we're going to need to have a little more discussion on that to just figure out what we're going to do as a recommended maximum square footage. We're also, we have a couple of the members that have been talking to different contractors to find out if we can find some contractors to come in that we can check out their work to see what they could do for us once we get this all approved. Because we're also going to be included in the RVI planning as far as the zoning, hopefully getting this added to us so that we can get casitas, not sheds, what we have now. And that's all we have at the moment. I make a motion to accept my report.
A second.
Second.
All
Thank
in
you.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Lisa. Willis Cohn on the Storage Committee.
He's not here.
He's not here.
Left.
Is Jimmy, do you want to do a report?
Good morning, everybody. Jim Schwartz at D154. The storage lot right now, we've had 4 new spots that have been filled, 1 swap. Area's been cleaned up pretty good back there. We feel it's pretty well organized. We've got 67 people on the wait list right now to this date for people who need storage desperately. We're trying to do our best to keep a good handle on what goes on back there, who's doing what, everybody's in the right space, trying to keep it organized. We sent a small survey just asking these folks, do you want to stay on the list? What are you looking for? You want an empty spot? You want a container, 20-foot pod? And most response was 80%. They're just glad to have a space. And we're the only committee that makes money for the park. So we urge everybody, if you want to get on this list, let's get on. And we are pushing forward, as all know, to do the expansion on the south end. So very important. We've been working very hard on this. So that's about all we have at this point.
Okay, all right. Any questions, anybody? If not, motion to accept.
Okay, thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Jim. The Art Committee, Mark Masser.
Good morning. So we've had the end of the season with our new committee, and was busy. We got a lot of stuff done. Probably made a few people mad, but that's business. We have some new processes that we're working on. Jack Cassidy's put together the new request. Jack Cassidy's put together the new request forms. We're hoping to be able to, you can access them online. You can fill them out. They're a whole lot simpler. The biggest change one of the biggest changes we're making is no vendor will be allowed to sign a request. It has to be signed by the owner or the owners in order for it to be processed. If it is not signed by the owners, we will not process it. We won't do a thing with it. It's to protect you, to protect the park, and protect us. That's about it.
Mark, have you had a lot of vendors that are completing these?
Yep.
Okay,
a
all
lot
right,
of them.
good
So
catch.
We will not accept it. It has to be the owner. And there's going to be two new signature spots on the bottom where you print your name and sign your name. We're going to meeting the last Friday of every month, starting this month. So we're not going to be doing them as fast as we were before.
Okay, and you're going to start using this new form that you've developed?
Yep.
It's very clear, very, very nice.
It's a whole lot easier to fill out. You have to have measurements, pictures, and your corners marked. We're not going to look for your corners anymore. We're not going to help in assisting that. Everything is spelled out with what we need with if you follow these guidelines, it'll help get your request done quicker and cleaner.
Any questions, anybody? Motion to, oh, Brenda?
We're right now, because the season's ended, we will go to meeting the last Friday of every month, starting this month. Yes, we'll go back to meeting every week then during season.
2 weeks.
You get it in on that Friday morning. The way we had it set up before, anything before noon on the Friday, we would get to it that week. Yeah. That'll be up to First Services to how they get them out. No, there should not be any. And that's why we've changed the rule around a little bit, where we won't take a vendor's signature on anything because the vendor wants it back. I've talked to some of the vendors. They want the same thing. They said, well, we need the permit. It's been sitting in a mailbox for 6 months or 6 weeks. We need to get the permit. That's not our problem. You need to get the permit. If you put in a request to get work done, it's your job to get it to the vendor. We're not issuing any permits to the vendors because we have no tie to the vendor. Yeah, yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
Any other questions? Motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I want to thank everybody on that architectural committee. I've sat in on meetings with them and they have been extremely busy and very dedicated, as all of the volunteers are in this park. So thanks to everybody. You're wonderful. Unfinished business. Since Greg isn't here, we're probably not going to do anything more further with the SBA other than what Deb has indicated. We are still waiting. We have to do some filings downtown. I'm waiting for a copy of our insurance policy that has to go with it, the wind deductible. I also have to do a title search that's being done by our attorney. So we're really just kind of in the hold pattern right now with that. Terry, do you want to give us an update on the trash?
Well, unfortunately, I have not received any call back from Waste Pro. So at this time, I'm going to recommend that the board looks into renewing the contract that we currently have. We would be able to replace the damaged dumpster with a new one, and we could adjust how long we want to make the contract for.
Will they give us, if they pull that one out, will they replace it immediately with a new one?
It will be 6 weeks before we can get a new one. The county did come out and take a look at that, and as long as we tell them that we've got a contract in place, there shouldn't be an issue. But we need to move on it because of the fact that It's been inspected by the county.
Okay, so once we vote to accept the renewal, which I don't have in front of me here, but once we do that, what are we gonna do with our trash in the 6 weeks?
They'll be bringing one in as they take it out. I
Okay.
understand, as far as I understand.
Not an open one.
No, no, it'll
Okay.
be a compacting.
Will you confirm that for us, please?
Yes,
All right, that we,
Yes.
that if they take it out, a compactor comes in.
yes.
Okay. Yes, Deborah.
I'm just curious,
what-
everybody hear me? I'm just curious, what is the issue with the current one? I'm not familiar with it.
It leaks.
It's leaking.
Okay.
It's deteriorating. It's awful.
If you took out the door, you can see the garbage protruding from the back of the dumpster. That's the issue.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we renew the contract for the dumpster,
With Allstate rental.
right?
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Terry, you have the form. I've already signed the form.
Madam
so
President,
Go ahead with that. Let's talk about maintenance area clean out. That's a mess out there. Universal Underground, we had approved that at the last meeting. They had revised their quote. Instead of 7,400, it was 6,300, but that was also including removing the culvert going into the maintenance area. And what we know right now, and Jack and Bill, unless I'm wrong, we have a great possibility of keeping that maintenance area so the culvert would stay there, but we do need to clean the trash out of that area. So we have a quote. They haven't provided us with a revised one from Universal Underground yet. And we have another one from Jonathan Montero for 3,700. Jack, do you have a question?
Yeah, I would just recommend that we put that on hold for now because whether we get approved or not,
Okay,
that area does have to be cleaned up. We might be able to leave the slab once they approve it. We might be able to leave that concrete slab there and it could be used for parking vehicles or something.
well, this quote
Oh.
from Mr. Montero is not considering the concrete slab, but it would take everything else out. If he has to do the concrete slab, he has to requote. So we could at least let this part go and get it cleaned up. It's a mess.
Yeah,
It's just a mess.
I would really like to see it on hold for now and we put a lock on that gate, a chain, bore some 1-inch holes in that both gates, put a chain in there and lock it. And we shouldn't be accessing it for any reason other than maintenance if they have to, but we're getting mattresses dumped in there and everything else right now.
What's your problem with cleaning it up right now?
Well, we're gonna have to go in and clean it up anyway. We have a bid right now for removal of the fence, the red fence, for the entire fence at about $4 a lineal foot. And I think we can probably do better if he's doing all that work in there. I haven't got a quote from him yet, but to clean it up right now and leave that gate the way it is, it's just gonna the people are gonna keep dumping in there. That's what's happening.
What are the chances we get to keep it or not? What do you think?
50-50. DOT, Lee County has already approved verbally that they'll agree with it, whatever DOT decides for that egress, they'll go along with it. So we're just waiting for DOT and he's supposed to get back to us here in the next week or so.
So is that something, once it gets approved,
Then we can sweep in and clean it up then, I
clean
think.
it up and stay like that?
Yeah. Then we can spend the money and do that and get it under lock and key. But those gates, you got a 2x4 across there with some screws that are about 1 inch into the gate and it just doesn't work.
How about any more discussion? How do you board members feel?
Well, we had some discussion in facilities committee in our Monday meeting about storage area. Because we're collaborating with the storage area committee on, the zoning and so forth. And one of the suggestions that was made was, well, why don't we consider putting our maintenance area tack it on to the south end of the storage area expansion? Because you think about it, I mean, those are compatible uses. They're both storage essentially. I know we may have to look at some issues like, can we get power there and so forth, but I think my feeling is let's clean it up and get that done. Because this is part of our front door. And, you know, you don't want your front door to look trashy. And then we'll figure out, you know, what we're going to do long-term about maintenance as part of this zoning process that we'll go through.
Well, we have a bid for $6,300 from Universal Underground to remove everything. Correct? The slab, the culvert,
Right,
everything.
right.
I would ask him to break out his quote so we can see what it would cost to remove the slab. If we have to clean it up, we may as well clean it up and remove the slab. Because he's got it in his quote now. We know what the numbers are. He doesn't have it broken out, but the
No, he doesn't.
6,300 removes that also, I believe. And that's gonna be the costly part of cleanup.
Yeah, Terry, you can ask him.
Will do.
Because he was at 6,300. And check that out.
Yes.
All right, so we'll have to,
But if that 6,300 includes
it includes, the-
scraping everything out of there, then I would say go ahead and have him do the slab and we'll worry about it later.
okay, but it can't, we don't want him to quote removal of the culvert though, at this
No,
point, no.
No, we'll break the culvert out,
right.
maybe. if
All right.
It's not spelled out in his quote, the slab, the concrete?
Yeah.
It is or is not?
Mhm.
So we decided we're not gonna use that as a maintenance area.
No.
We haven't
no.
decided.
It's
So
only-
why do we want to remove the slab at this point?
Well, because it's part of the cleanup. If we're gonna spend $6,300 to clean it up and that's included, we may as well just pull it. The slab is within the 40-foot buffer zone right now. For the side boundary. So
So
I don't-
technically, you're not allowed to have that in there.
we don't know yet. We're trying to, hopefully RVI will get us to permission to put the fence line along there and that buffer zone will be waived, you know?
So once we clean it up, can we beautify it and put park benches out there or?
Sure, we'll do whatever we
I
want.
mean, we're gonna have to keep it clean if we get it approved all the time, Mike, or can we grass the area or?
You mean if it's not storage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say we have to beautify it or clean it up and plant something or,
No more mattresses, okay?
Oh, that's what I, yeah, well, I'm
Yeah.
like that, but yeah.
but I think if we don't do anything right now, if we delay for 30 days,
All right, let's
I think we should lock that gate with a chain.
postpone it.
We need to
So,
lock
that's
those
right
gates
now.
together with a chain and secure that gate, keep people from driving and dumping. there.
Okay, get us information so we can, I want that cleaned up too, so get us some information.
All right.
Ricky Parker, you want to talk about the rental program?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rick Parker on D1, and our committee consists of Mike Perkins, who is chairman, myself as co-chair, Steve Bingham, Deb Davis, and Steve Hartley is our board liaison. And Michael is an owner, and he also rents his lot. I'm an owner. I do not rent my lot. Steve Bingham is an owner, and he rents his lot. Deb Davis is an owner and she does not rent her lot. And Steve Hartledge is an owner and he rents his lot. This, we were put together for the reason that, hang on. Because of the request by owners who had concerns over rental policies and safety during the summer with people coming and going and coming in 1 to 2 days at a time. And, we also have, when people, they're supposed to do their paperwork, and speaking with Diane, when she was at the office, there would be 3 or 4 in here at a time that she had no idea who they were, not a clue. And also we had squatters in here. And we've had thefts in here that have been happening, and they've been growing over the last 2 years. So I think that's pretty much why we were put together. And, anyhow, I'm going to go over this with you guys and explain it to you. And also, in doing this, to answer a question right off the bat, we did a lot of research on this and looked in different places. Deb was instrumental in looking things up, looking at other places and what their policies were. We started out with a minimum length of stay. And let me add this before I get started in here. In no way in anything that we are proposing is going to affect what you rent your lots for, how you collect your money. It has nothing at all to do with that. It has nothing at all to do with if you have a relative or a friend that wants to come stay with you while you are on your lot. It has nothing at all to do with that. Okay, minimum length of stay. And all of this was done from the, let me get back to my notes. From the survey that was done. On our survey, 74% were in favor of a 30-day minimum length of stay. And 87% were in favor of a standard HOA approved rental application and registration. 58% were in favor of required background checks. 63% in favor of check-in hours. 63% in favor of administrative fee charges. The survey that was done, there were 294 responses on the survey, which is basically what we get whenever we vote on something. Am I correct on that, Deb? Okay, and these are the results. All right, here we go. Having to bend over here. You need to stay 30 days or more. No lot can be rented more than 5 times in a calendar year. Lease date will determine the actual number of terms each calendar year. This will apply year-round during both peak and off-peak season. Family and friends of the landowner are exempt from the minimum length of stay, but are to stay up to 2 weeks maximum. Family and friends must be on the pre-approved list turned in by the owner January 1st of each year. Owners must submit a revised family and friends list to the resort manager no later than January the 1st of each year. A maximum of 4 months may be submitted. And any exceptions must be approved by the HOA board of directors. So once again, family and friends that stay with you while you're there, that's not the case. Nothing needs to be worried about there. Okay, moving on to application, registration forms, background checks. Lot owners are required to use only the approved and standard rental application forms. Background checks on repeat renters are required each year they rent a lot or enter into a new lease. Background checks are required for all renters, including friends and family. This is not if they're staying in your lot with you there. Each applicant must provide 4 photos of the RV reflecting all sides of the RV. Photos of all pets are required also. If the application and background check is approved, the owner approves reservation. Instruction on check-in days, times, and process are issued after the lease is signed. Cypress Ridge must be notified of the approved rentals at least 7 days prior to the arrival date. The staff or contractor will provide welcome packets, initial orientation, community access instructions. And service will be given back to the owner or the tenant through the designated management onboarding company. And check-ins. Everyone, including family and friends, must be advised by the owner or contractor manager required check-in hours. Rental and check-in times are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., which is our office hours. Any renter who arrives other than the designated check-in times must register with the office the next business day. The office is open. After hours, weekend arrivals are arranged by the owner or the contracted manager prior to arrival day. If one arrives without proper paperwork being filled out, Cypress Woods property manager and the board of directors has a right to refuse entry. Dropping stuff. Administrative and violation fees. Each time an owner lot is rented, an admin fee is charged to the owner. This fee applies to family and friends. This is for the background check, and that's it. Admin fees are set and reviewed annually by the Cypress Woods Board of Directors. Any violation, fine, of policy, or governing document by owner or renter will be billed back to the owner. The eviction is it's in our articles as the board controls the rental. That's on our first
That's on our first agenda. On that part, before we get to the second part.
Okay.
You ready to go with the second part?
Yep.
Okay. On the second part, we had three different options. One was owner control, no management oversight, and first services check-in. All reservations, monetary transactions, and oversight done by owners. Management is notified about the reservations and only checks renters into the park. Owner is responsible for activity, regulating all activities of renters. Cost is an admin fee only, which will be determined. Requires board approval, which that's already in there. Option two, which this is the one that we agreed to go with, that we voted on. And this is with a company called Tenant Evaluation, or whoever we would like to go with. All services can be provided from application to background checks. They do not collect the rent. Our management is notified about reservations through an online system and only check-in renters. Owner is responsible for activity, regulating all reservations and activities of renters. The cost is $150 per application fee, where Cypress Woods HOA gets back 100 of that to help offset our costs that we're doing. Because we felt that in doing this, that if you don't rent your lot, if you don't rent a lot, you should not be responsible for any costs that are incurred for people that do rent their lots. And other than that, that's it.
Okay. We'll open it up for a discussion. Somebody's phone is ringing. He's got it. Let's open this up for some discussion.
Madam President.
Mr. Hartledge.
First of all, I'd like to thank Ricky, Deb, Steve, and Michael for being on the committee, for all the hard work that they've done and thought and process we've put into this. And also, I'd like to address some issues if I can. Last night, I got on Cypress Woods site and I looked at a lot of comments last night. A lot of finger pointing, a lot of name calling, and a lot of other things. My first thought, I thought, this is not Cypress Woods. I think I'm in Washington here with a lot of politicians going on the way all this is going. And this is not our intent. We didn't try to upset anybody, or we're not trying to be a Gestapo police or anything like that. We're just trying to come up with some ideas from the survey. And I don't think any of this is set in stone as far as I remember. Like I said, it's just possibilities. We've tried to keep an open mind, especially me. I am an owner and I rent my lot and I sit up here also. And trust me, I've tried to keep a fair right down the middle with this. And I think the committee will justify that for me.
I agree.
When we have met and when I've spoken, they've spoken, we've listened to each other. And with what I'm saying is, we're trying to make the park better, hopefully. We've listened to you all. Some of this stuff is some of your all ideas from the survey. You know, what you all spoke to us. We have a problem here. We talk about communication sometimes. Hopefully we've tried to communicate with you people here. And we're trying to look at both sides, the owner and the people in the park here, the people that's in the park here full time, and with some of the issues. And nothing's perfect and nothing's never going to be perfect, but we're just trying to get up somewhere in the middle here to hopefully it helps everybody here. So I hope this is what we've tried to do. And I hope this, Ricky, thank you. I think you explained it very well. And like I said, I think there's still some more work to be done with all this. Like I said, I don't think nothing's set in stone here. I don't think we're going to throw a gavel down and say, here it is. You're going to live by it. So I hope you understand what we've done and appreciate what these guys done. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve. Any other questions? Please come to the microphone.
I think it's still morning, but anyway, my name is Lena Frady. I'm on lot D 183. I own 3 lots, my husband and I together in here. I can't understand why we've gone to the point of that you think it's fair that we have to pay because we rent a lot, that we pay the same HOA fees that you do. And I don't think that it's fair. Also, my question to Laguna, are you paying for background checks?
We're not doing background checks. In Laguna
Okay, so
County.
why would we have to pay for a background check when everybody that's going to their place is going to come right through our place? So that is my question. I have no problem paying a fee for the office to do whatever we need filled out. I have no problem with that. But to give the office $100 back and a $50 to do a background check, there's a little bit of problem there as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not mad at anybody for what they're trying to do to keep us safe or whatever. But sometimes we get a little too many rules and regulations that what we already have aren't followed. So we need to look into that.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Okay, I think she's got 3 questions, but help me remember what you're asking. Okay. One, she says, why should the owners have to pay for a background check? Is that a question?
Yes, when both places are not.
Okay, well, that's 2. I'll get, because I'm going to separate it. Okay. So the owners are not paying for the background check because the owners do not do the background check. The applicant, as with any place they would apply to that does background checks, the applicant will be given the website that they will do an online registration with a company called Tenant Evaluation. They're almost #1 in the nation. Our manager has worked with Tenant Eval for years. She feels they are state of the art. They have great credibility. The applicant, when they fill out the application online, will pay that fee. Okay, so the owner does not pay that. That is always, if they would go to RV Resort ABCD in this area, okay, background checks are done and they would have to pay to have that check done. Now, as far as Laguna goes, not doing background checks, I would like for Dwayne to comment on that, because when Michael DePello with PPM Properties was at the meeting last month, he contradicted that. And he did tell the committee as well that there would be background checks done. So we do have some conflicting information here, and this would be a good time to try to clear it up.
Well, we are not doing background checks. I don't know what Michael said. I wasn't at that meeting. He may be mistaken in what he said, but we are not doing them.
Okay. Did you have a third one? A question? Okay, so that's the committee's response and explanation.
Okay.
We've gone all of these years without having all of this problem with people, landlords having to pay for something to be done. I know that when you guys first started this and you had this, whatever his name was, the developer, all the problems that he caused. And when they tried to do the rental, that just became a mess. So that's what I'm looking at. And when you go back there, and the also thing I'm looking at to me is, why should I have to pay extra when I pay my HOA fees just like everybody else does? It doesn't matter if I'm renting it. I bought the lot. I paid the taxes. I paid the HOA fees. It doesn't matter what I do with that lot as long as it's not hurting someone. But that's the thing. That's where I'm at.
As a committee member, please allow me to respond, because I think her concern is when a renter comes into this park, and many are uninformed, misinformed, unprepared. it falls upon the administrative assistant to take that renter under their wing and walk them through orientation, access to their lot, sometimes access to the gate, many times access to the gate, giving them the rules and regs and other current correspondence that we've had with our social committee. Not only is it the initial orientation that our administrative assistant does just for renters, is also the follow-up. That first 2 weeks, that renter is back in that office so many times with questions. And again, this is nothing that the HOA ever benefited from. But yet we paid the wages of the manager and the administrative assistant to take over the care and the orientation of the renters. During the survey, that was one of them. I believe at 87% was the response that owners felt it would be fair for the HOA to recover some administrative cost for those owners who reap the benefit of collecting additional rent on their lots. So that is the response of the committee.
Yeah, 63%. Jack?
Hi, Jack Cassidy. I'm on D78. Security is not a new issue in any community. If you look at any gated community, you hear me right? If you look at any gated community, everybody's tightening up today. I have a home in another gated community, and we just went through an entire change. People were handing out barcodes to their friends and family and whatever, and we didn't know who was coming in the subdivision. We just made a major change on gate control access, and we even have 2 gates. We have a main gate and a secondary gate, and they're both fully manned. We still have the issues up until recently. So I think the committee, Ricky and Deb and Mike, and I don't know who else was on there, but they all did a great job on this presentation today, and I don't see any reason why not to accept it. Separately, I'm on a finance committee, and I think that I don't know what the proposed fee is for rental, but I would like to see it up $150 or higher.
I have a question, Jack. In your community, do you do background checks?
We do, yes, definitely. We do background checks, and the tenant has to be checked in with our management company before they occupy the premises. We got one right now that some crazy thing. They did some kind of swap and they're renting the house out. We know about it, and we're going to shut their gate access off. They won't be able to come in through the guard or the automatic control.
Do they do background checks on family members?
No, we don't require a lease. Well, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that from Ricky. I didn't hear that from you.
The reason we did this was in our meeting when we did friends and family. If we're going to do anybody new coming in this community that rents, we do background checks, or that was our proposal. If a friend or family member comes to stay on your lot, just take a friend, for example, and they come to stay on your lot for a couple of weeks or a month or whatever. Why should they not be subject to it? It's safety. It's for our community. We don't know your friends. We don't know your family. You don't know my friends. You don't know my family. And I'll promise you, I got people in my family you don't want to know and you don't want out here. They're bad. So in saying that, and also we got the question, why now do this? Why not now? Thefts are up. Different things are going on. We've got women out here that are single that have no idea who they have where they are. But they have no idea who is beside them. We have a lady right over here, Pam Foster. She had people coming in every 3 days. No idea who it was. Go to the office at that particular time. They couldn't tell you who was on their lot. So as a sense of security, and it's becoming more and more prevalent that people do these background checks, I think in order for our community to be safe and everybody to feel comfortable, you've got to start somewhere. Somewhere it has to be started. So we have to pick a point as far as I'm concerned.
And, you know, the background checks, like I said, we asked you, Dwayne, we asked Michael 4 different occasions, and he said, if they do it, there will be background checks, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, he's not an owner. I am. That's the difference.
He said he was involved and he was an owner also.
He has a financial interest in it, but he's not part of the management.
He's managing your rentals.
I hear a
Just,
lot of people with the same concern that I have. And so I am gonna say, me personally, I don't like background checks on my family.
just to summarize,
Well, hang on, Jack. But also, hang on, people, hang on before we start shouting back and forth, please. Little courtesy here. My suggestion, like I said, what does it hurt, say, if we don't go on that route? But we have an idea, they come to the office and they register or something, so we know who is on these lots and stuff. This is what we're trying to tweak here a little bit, you know, to see who is coming in and out of this, you know, this park and stuff or whatever. So maybe something like that can be done or something compromised. I don't know. But that is the idea of some things of this.
I agree. And I mean, if we want to start out with no family having background checks, let's give it a shot. And we'll go from there. I mean, we've got to have a starting point and we've got to do something somewhere.
All right, Jack, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I think if the board decides not to do background checks on family, we still have to know who that family is in the park. And I think that January 1st, registration will probably help if you notify who's family and who's friends coming in for that year. But, I'm going to ask the board, I don't know if you're ready to vote on this today or not. I don't know what to, no?
No.
All right.
Need-
So I would,
I think people want some kind of a compromise, and I think we should get some information today
yeah,
and look at this.
but I think the package they put together is, well done. I don't see any problem with it.
I'm ready for.
Hello, everybody. My name is Marty Khan, 836. Well,
Can't hear you.
I wasn't hungry. I had to eat it. Okay, so. My name is Marty Khan. I'm 836. Excuse me, a little hoarse this morning. But I agree with everybody. I'm sure does want to keep our community safe. Okay, I'm sure we're all in agreement about that. However, some of this stuff, we have to remember, the more rules and restrictions you place in a community, the less value the community becomes. I know that because I'm in valuations 23 years. Okay, so we have to remember that whenever we vote on things like this, you're devaluing your property when you place these restrictions. You are. I've been doing this for 23 years. Secondly, I disagree and object strongly to having background checks on family, like many of you do. We know who our families are and we're responsible for them. I do agree that they can check in with the office, so we know who, you know, that's already going on right now. Everybody's supposed to check in.
No, they don't.
Well, they're supposed to.
Oh, there's the kicker. What you said. They're supposed to.
So
and
like
they
when we
don't.
rent our lot, I make sure that all my renters check in with the office. That's in an email to them. That's on the form. They have to check in with the office. The other issue I like to object to is putting a limit on the times when our renters can check in. Many people know when you're coming from, let's say, upstate New York, and they're driving a long way to get here, sometimes they can't get here by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So they're coming down the highway, they're tired, they want to get on the lot, they want to go to sleep. So I think we should look at that again. Well, if we're not here, we can't put them on ourselves, but. But that's all I want to say. Just remember, when you put restrictions, just like restrict your community that's 55 and older, you're taking the pool of people who's going to want to buy in there. You know, you're cutting that pool down a great deal than having, you know, the masses that can purchase in there. So you're devaluing the community.
As far as the devaluing of property, we had Michael Perkins on our committee, and he said if anything, it would elevate our property value. One of the questions he got asked several times was, you got a rental program?
inside your community and do you enforce rental programs? His answer was no. He lost sales because of it. You go next door, the lots over there selling for $22 a square foot more than ours is what he found and what he said. So that's speaking for Michael in far as devaluing property, as you said.
Well, I just had that thought. I thought it was reasonable. I thought it'd be easy to figure out.
I agree with that you need to fill out your paperwork on your renter. It needs to be in the office before that renter is ever allowed to come through the gate. I think that I agree with the hours. They have to come in when the office hours are open. If you
All right, well,
rent
good
or not,
deal. We'll just keep you posted.
you
on it.
need to be there
I
to get your
appreciate
renter
your
in.
system.
It's
No,
not up to the
well,
office
I
to
got
get your
pictures
renter
of all
in.
the
I agree
water
to
that
that.
saw. That
I
don't
also
mean
say,
whatever
I heard
was
that last year
absorbed,
during the
whatever
summer,
was
there was
obviously
a
was
couple
wrong
of
for
problems.
process.
I
The
think that
season
the
all
manager
slowed
of
down
this
and-
park should have called the owner
Yeah,
of
it's
that
just
lot
like
and got it
horrible,
taken care of
horrible
that
mess.
way. It's not up to the manager to handle your problem, but is up to the manager to let you know you have a problem.
Amen.
So I agree with that
Anyway,
100%.
Figure it out.
But I think
Okay,
that if
thank-
somebody
Hey,
comes
for
to that
everybody's
gate
listening
and their
online, please make
paperwork
sure
is
your
not
mics
done
are
in the
muted.
office, ever who's on that gate should say, you cannot come in until your paperwork is in the office. I totally agree with that. And I totally agree with 30 days maximum.
Just to expand on that, Lena, last Friday, we had 5 renters come in here and not one piece of paperwork.
That's right.
So it's the owner.
That's right. It's back to
problem.
the owner. Trust me.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Morning.
Good morning.
I am the infamous Pete Lemke.
Hi, Pete.
Finally, I would like to start off by saying I appreciate the hard work that, can you guys hear now? I appreciate the hard work that the board does and that every committee does. It is absolutely a thankless job. And no matter what you come up with, you're going to have people who don't like what you came up with, and I get that. Here's my main thing. I've got pages and pages of notes, and I'm not going to take all the time here to do it. I think what we're going through is typical of when you have a lack of enforcement situation, the response is to just create more rules. And if we have enforcement on what we have, 80% of our problems go away from there. Now, the other flaw in this system to me is this. There's a massive lack of trust in this process. And there's a reason to me why that's happening. This is the rental policy we were given when we bought our lot. It's on one page. These are the 10 pages of the new policy, which in all honesty lacks a lot of specificity and clarity and is going to have to be made bigger and more clear. Well, I printed what you sent out, and so here it is. I didn't change the type when I printed it, so you. Okay. I don't think you're going to argue that you're making wide sweeping, much more restrictive changes, but here's the problem. If you're going to go from this to this, there's a question that's been asked 100 times, and not once has it been answered clearly. And that question is, and I'm going to assume that the people on the committees and the people on the board, that they really in their heart want to do their best to represent everybody in the community and to do everything they're doing in the community's best interest of all the owners. And so the question that's been asked often and never answered is, will all the owners get to vote on whatever the final draft is? And if not, why not?
I want to answer that. No, it's not. As per our attorney, a change like that would best be done as an amendment to our document and voted on by the owners in this community. That's per our attorney.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It
So
should be
it will not
done
be
by
a board
everybody.
policy.
You're going to go from this to this and all these wide sweeping changes ostensibly in the serving of everybody who owns a lot, yet not give them a voice in whether or not they agree with this. I don't understand that.
I just said that you have a voice. It will be done as an whatever the committee's final policy write-up is. The attorney will draft the amendment. It will come out to you. Every owner in this park has a chance to vote yes or no. And based on the results of that, if it's more yeses than nos, it passes.
66%, right?
Correct.
Okay, I apologize. I misunderstood when you said. when you
No,
said-
it will be an amendment to our documents.
I don't agree with a lot of this, but whatever comes out, if it's voted on, then I'll back it.
Can you hear me, Madam
You're
President?
also saying too, you're holding that up and say, and it's not a done deal. This is not a done deal, what you're holding.
I understand that, but there's a lot of provisions in here and also they lack clarity. And going back to my initial comment about thanking the board and the committee members for their hard work. If this committee wants another volunteer, I'm happy to volunteer.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Peter. Next person,
Can I ask one more question?
be quick. Your 5 minutes are up.
I didn't know I had 5 minutes, sorry.
5 minutes. Charlie's gonna give him 5.
Why would you put in here that you have a maximum of 4 family members and that you need all their names by January 1st in order for them to be on your lot in the coming year?
Those are just ideas. As like I said, we've tried to listen to some of the people and stuff to have a general idea of maybe who's coming in and out. You know, we're just kind of asking.
But I can have
things.
5 strangers and 4 family members.
We just doing some numbers out there.
Well,
I mean, you know,
so when they don't make sense that you can have 5 strangers and 4 family members, then
I don't think it says strangers, does it?
Let's move on.
you can rent it to 5
can't
different
keep
people you
debating
never
this.
met, but you can only give it to 4 family members.
Thank you, Peter. Next,
And I get to follow that. Thanks, Judy, for clarifying, by the way, the vote for it too, because
Yes.
that was one of my questions. So I'm glad you got that out in front of everybody. I'm Craig Sullivan. I own a 4 lots here, actually, C53 being our main one. On the background checks, and Dwayne, I heard, and we've corresponded about your background checks there. I just got back from a week at Blue Water Key. And I think we can all agree that Blue Water Key is probably one of the nicer
microphone.
luxury resorts, I'm sorry, that you have in the country. I did talk to them. They do not do background checks. And their average price of their properties is right around $1 million a piece right now. And they have nice furniture and tiki huts and all kinds of things. So I guess my question is from the background checks, and they asked me what would be in the background checks. And I guess that's what as an employee of about 5,000 people over my career, we did background checks, but it was mainly financial related because we were auditing banks and credit unions and all that kind of stuff. So my big question on the background checks is, what are we going to look at? It's really vague. You really have to be specific. How are you going to set those criteria up and who's going to manage that? I understand their services. There's all kinds of services, but we would have to do the inputs as to exactly which layers, what do we call and what do we do? Personally, I think if we're not going to have background checks for all the people that come into the community, I don't know why we would want it for the rentals either. And if Dwayne's not doing it, and I know from a motor coach resort side, I doubt any of them are doing it right now. I've never stayed in one that's required me a background check in my 20 years of camping. So that's the question. I think it needs to be clarified if we are going to do background checks, exactly what criteria is going to be considered and what would be the decision making on those areas. I don't know if the committee has already done some work on that or not.
I think I can answer some of that.
Okay.
If I understand with through tentative, they have 3 options. And their second option with their background check, it is credit checks and all different things. It has a list of all what they would go through or whatever. My understanding on option number 2 through tentative.
Okay. And to me, from a person that rents my lots, that seems to be my responsibility on the credit checks. I'm more worried about him getting paid than I think anybody here in the community, but that's me talking.
I
I'm just
understand
saying,
that, but
okay.
you were asking us
Right.
what our criteria would be, and that's what their option is for their number
Okay.
2 option of what they would go through their list with or whatever.
And I don't know exactly how just that credit background check would help me knowing the caliber and the person and quality of the person coming into the community. So I think that's what we really need some clarity on. What exactly would we be considering for a background check? Second thing, and I have no intent of ever renting a lot for less than 6 months in a day because I don't want to pay Florida taxes and other things. So I'm not into the 30-day is fine with me. However, when I first came here to look at this in 2014, I rented for a week. And the reason I did, I don't know that I would own anything here. And we stayed on our lot full time for almost 5 years. I don't know if we would actually have purchased a lot if we weren't able to spend some time here meeting all of you guys and learning about the community. Just what Dwayne's doing with Laguna Carib. I'm sure he wants people here for a weekend just to get together and understand what the facility looks like. I think we've got to think closely about that 30-day. I'm not against it. I understand clearly what the issue is. I don't want us to be a KOA. But on the other hand, I think we've got to think about, are we limiting the value of this resort if we don't allow people to come in for a weekend or 7 days? Maybe it's 7 days. I don't know if it's 7 or a weekend or what. But I think you've got to think about that so we attract the people to this community that we really want to buy in the future. And that's all I have. Thank you. Judy.
Good afternoon. It's not
John
morning.
Smith on D119. I just have a question. As far as the fees are concerned, Judy, I know that
In the mic.
for background checks, how many people in the family do we have to pay for back? I mean, is it, say you have do we have to have a background check on the husband and the wife?
Talking to the
family?
microphone. They can't hear you.
How many members of the family do we have to pay for a background check for? That's my question. I wish, that would be considered and clarified, before we move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Lemke. Just one quick question, or not really a question, but maybe a suggestion. I understand part of your issue is that you have a lot of people that are coming in without the correct paperwork. And I understand how difficult that would be. Why don't we set a fee to the owner if they allow their renters to come in here without the correct paperwork? That's $100 fee. That's on the owner. I mean, owners, if you're going to rent, we don't rent. So just so you know, we rented one time. We rented in here for a month during the pandemic because the Canadians couldn't get across the border. We were here 2 weeks when we bought our lot. We rented last winter for a couple months because our daughter had a baby in San Diego. The renter bought a lot within a week. The next renter, he was here 3 months. We had another renter for 2 months and he bought a lot. That's how, and I agree, that is how we find out what a great community this is by living here. We loved it. And we love the community and we think the people here are great. But I do understand that there's an administrative issue that has to be addressed. And I think it's on it's on the owners. We got our paperwork in time. The owner of the lot we rented made sure that we had everything in time before we went through the door. I also agree that it's on the owner to get people in here if they can't get in during the normal office hours. There's not going to be a night guard out there getting people in. Right. So I agree with the vast majority of it. I also absolutely disagree with our 5 children. I don't have 4. We have 5. I gotta leave one of them off a list. I mean, I'm that hard. That
would be the 2-year-old, I'm sure.
Yeah, my youngest is 36. My oldest is 49. So I got old kids. But anyway,
Those are good questions, and I think the board will take some of those into discussion.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate all the work you guys have done.
Thank you.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
If
Sorry,
you look in
I'm
the
I'm
docs, we
online
have
here.
Where it
Hello?
says, we used to have a 2-week for kids and grandkids in here and we changed that. Do you all remember that?
Yep.
Because that's how I base my lease on my lot. With my lot and my lease, I have a week if your family, or kids coming in, but I based it off on ours. And people came to us, we compromised and we changed it. So that's saying we do make some changes here with things that's come up on some positions like that or whatever that, nothing's not set in
Just
stone.
send it directly
with it.
to the
So that's
CWA
simple
Board
out
of
there.
Directors host,
Maybe a lot of people
and
didn't
they
know.
should
we
be able to read them
created
at the
it
end
one time.
of the comments.
Jim?
Just one thing, hope we're not getting away from the fact that we're looking for safety, security, and whatever it takes, it's not the dollar.
Thank you.
Can I ask,
One more, we'll take one more question.
hello, can I ask a question?
And type it in and I will read it. We have many comments on the.
I'm sure.
You want me to go ahead and read some of them?
Are they what we've already discussed?
Okay.
If they're what we already discussed, we're just redoing them over and over. And no, we don't want to do that. We'll be here till 4:00.
Okay. Well, there was one that I hadn't seen. I'll go ahead and work through it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Lee Smith, I'm on C-116 and my youngest son has a house on C-8. There's a line here that is what needs clarification. This policy applies to all and any approved renter who enters a bona fide lease with the lot owner. My son bought his house. He can come down for 1 week out of the year, and that's where he wanted to stay, but he bought the house for family and friends to use. So I don't want to do background checks. I don't want to pay a fee to the office for that. If I'm at my lot, can I not have overflow companies stay at his house because they're my guests? So that's just things to consider, I guess.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lee. Do you have a question, Terry?
One of the questions. I can't carry the computer over. One of the questions was, what if we have already rented for the lot for next year? Would they still need a background check? I'm sure that's.
Well, that would be determined based on whatever the committee, I think the committee can go back and take some of these issues and see if you can find a happy medium. Can you do that? And then we can discuss it again. We could even do a workshop if you want to do a workshop. But I think there's some good ideas here and I think we can get to a happy medium. Let's give it a shot. Is that agreeable with the committee? All right.
I thought
All
we
right.
were done. We're done with it. We're done.
Yeah, you are done. All right, do we have any new business? I know Bill Schwab has something. Come on up.
I have one new business real quick. Can we please do something and fix this Zoom stuff or we can finally get this stuff fixed where people can hear and stuff?
Yeah.
We've talked about this and talk about this. Let's get it done, people.
Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Amen.
This is what I referred to before. You have in front of you the RVI planning proposal to do the planning work for us. You want me to read the?
Yeah, I don't have it. I'm sorry.
Okay. The objective of the project is to provide planning services to coordinate, prepare and file an administrative amendment of application to Lee County to allow the following changes to the RVPD zone approval. Allowance for casita and modified development standards as necessary for accessory structures. Number 2, the placement of fencing along the Luckett Road and entry road with a masonry wall, including the flexibility terms of a wall replacement relating to the right-of-way and existing vegetation. This modification may include other areas of fence replacement, which it does on the B section. Allowance for the storage area expansion. This proposal is at a cost of $14,500 for the complete project, and they divided it down to the Casita Committee, the Storage Area Committee, and the Facilities Committee. Facilities mainly because it's going to be billed to the small business loan.
Okay, so 14,000. Now we're still going to have to hire an engineer. Is that correct?
Yes, 14,500 plus reimbursables, paper and stuff. Then we're going to have to
hire
an engineer, which we are in the process of talking to them to do some final drawings. Dwayne was.
Yeah, in addition to the zoning amendment, we have to get a development order modification. DO is the term they use. And the third part of it is to get an amendment to our ERP, environmental resource permit from the Water Management District. Now, those things can be done sequentially, one at a time, or they can be done more or less in parallel all at once. Obviously, it'd be a lot faster to do them in parallel, but we don't have any proposals in yet for the engineering piece.
And we would get started as fast as we could with RVI to get the process going.
Okay. Any discussion from the board? I mean, we can't go forward without, we got to get started.
Where are we Right.
getting that money from?
We're gonna take it out of Steve Hartledge's bank account. Because he rents his lot all the time. It's gonna come out of his
Your fee
pocket.
for renting your lot.
We'll have to take a look at the budget. We have to redo some of the things on the budget anyway, and some of the money that we previously paid for hurricane stuff, we took out of our general, which we were gonna put back in. So we'll have to figure out a way to do this, but we have to get going.
Now, 7,500 is part of the facilities coming out of the small business loan.
Okay,
No,
so it's roughly another 7, yeah,
okay.
out of
Are
general.
we allowed to take it out of that? It won't cover.
Let's
Well,
have,
the Welsh is recoverable under SBA as long as it's under that 20% limit associated with, what's the term, Jack? Or
mitigation.
mitigation, right? For the wall as opposed to the fence, which it would replace.
Any other discussion or comments by the board? If
Well,
not-
my
Yes.
suggestion is that we should go ahead and approve this as a board now. And you would be the final signer on the contract. So basically that wouldn't get signed until you've satisfied yourself that our budgets are
Right.
in order.
Dwayne has a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we will proceed. Thank you. Any other new business? Jack?
I got something simple.
All right.
Yesterday, I went down to the office to find out about a statement for maintenance fees. And Terry printed me off a copy of my entire account. And not realizing it, according to what Deb was saying, I'm $65 in the rear because I did not know that because I don't get a statement. And we decide we're not going to do coupons. I don't have a computer. I'm not going to buy a computer just to pay my maintenance fees. So you guys said in January, we would get a statement. So I need something.
Yeah.
And
We didn't know that First Service wasn't doing coupons anymore. No one told anybody. We did not know that.
well, either way, I'll pay but I gotta have a statement. I'm not going to Terry said, just send a check in. Well, I'm not going to send a check in without a receipt. I'm not going to do that. And now on this, I'm not going to send this whole account in there.
How do you pay your April dues? You pay them by check?
I haven't paid them yet.
Well, when you pay your April dues, which are due now, why don't you include the money for the other one?
I will-
And Terry will give you the address for where you're going to send it. And she'll show you what to put on your check.
Oh, I got it on here. She showed
Okay.
me what to put on check. The same thing I was on putting on
Okay, then
the
just
coupons.
write a check and
Why
pay
don't
it.
we do the coupons?
I don't know. They quit doing them. So pay your bills, Jack.
Well, I'll pay
Otherwise,
the
I
bills,
can
but I'm not
your
going to pay
house.
any bill without a receipt. You don't, I don't, you get a phone bill, you got a receipt. You get electric.
Your
bill, you got
check
a
is your
receipt.
receipt. Your check is your receipt. That's how you pay your quarterlies, Jack. I know that. So that check is your receipt, and after 5 or 7 days, go down and have Terry pull your account up and look at it again.
You can print it out and
Check and print it out. Thank you. Any other comments? All right, Mr. Nelson.
I got a tea down.
Gary Nelson, D 133. For Laguna Caribe, if our ponds, we have 3 ponds, they're all interconnected, correct?
Yeah.
that's correct.
And you are now using irrigation at nighttime. And are they going to be on the same sequence that we are, where we only get 2 days a week, 10 minutes if we're lucky. Is that the same schedule you'll be using?
Well, the system that we have is for irrigation is totally separate from what's in use in the rest of Cypress Woods. As far as the policy governing when you can water, that will be up to whatever applies to anybody else in Cypress Woods, because it's a common area facility. Once we get this plat recorded, it gets turned over to the master HOA and subject to,
But the individual lots aren't part of the master.
yes, they are. Every lot in Laguna Creek is also a member of the master.
Okay, so they'll be on the same sequence that we're on.
Yeah, I don't know how that's
Because the
physically
ponds are
done.
getting, the ponds are getting lowest I've seen them. And I know you've been watering a lot over there. so-
Well, we're not drawing from the pond. We have a well that pumps directly out of the aquifer to the irrigation system. So nothing goes in or out of the pond.
Okay.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
All right, I better look at this before I go.
Oh, she asked you to look at that for her. Okay. There you go, Charlie.